So in 2017, we saw a lot of natural disasters. Lots of people talked about how that was going to increase your pricing power and drive demand for your products. Has that happened in 2018? Has that been the response?
Yeah, I would say so. I wouldn't establish such a link, but if you look at our growth in property casualty for the 6 months, has been adjusted for a fixed effects about 6%. In the second quarter, the growth rate that we had was 7%. So we see a strong growth in the property casualty line. Also, when you look at the 6 months, our combined ratio has improved by 20 basis points, and this despite having higher cat losses in 2018 compared to 2017. So in general, the momentum that we see on the property casualty side is positive. I would say this is more the outcome of the actions that we are putting in place at Allianz as opposed to be help coming from the market environment. But we are very, very pleased with the performance of our property casualty operations, and they have supported clearly our $3 billion of operating profit for the quarter, our $1.9 billion for net income for the quarter. So the fundamental of the business is very strong.
Mr. Terzariol, is Allianz expecting to any way be affected by the heat wave across Europe in terms of claims?
No, at this point in time, we don't expect that this is going to be an issue for our loss ratio. So from this point of view, we are not concerned about these developments at this point in time.
Can I ask you about the performance of asset management? I see that the profits at your asset management business have increased, but there have been outflows from Pimco, but it's a slightly cloudy picture. So what is the big picture story around outflows and inflows at your Pimco business?
Yeah, in the quarter we had outflows at Pimco of about $8 billion. This was indeed driven by a large mandate. If you adjust for this large mandate, the outflows at Pimco were more or less at a zero level. Now, what is important, when you look at the 6 months, the inflows at Pimco were about 11 billion euro. So in general, we have a very strong inflow for the 6 months picture. Also, what is important, the run rate revenue that we are generating out of the inflows are positive. So that's a very important KPI to look at. And also, we saw positive inflows in June and July. And when you look then at the operating performance of Pimco, is very strong with an operating profit increasing by 20% adjusted for a fixed compared to the level of last year. So yes, we had a sort of a slower momentum in the second quarter, but right now we see inflows getting back to positive, and the underlying performance of our Pimco franchise is very, very strong.
Yeah, OK, so that's asset management. I want to ask about acquisitions. Are you looking to make any acquisitions in the near future?
So, as usual, we are not making any comment about acquisition. I can tell you what we did. There was an announcement just a couple of weeks ago that we are buying Multi-Assistentia, which is a sort of repair-in-kind service provider. And this is a good fit to our operations, especially to our operations in Southern Europe. And that's also a good fit to our strategy, where we believe that in the future we need to combine insurance with services. So this is a transaction that we are going to complete in the second half of the year. And we are going to look to other transactions this way, but clearly I'm not going to make any comment about what we might be doing in the future. The only thing I can say is that we are strongly committed to efficient capital deployment. So as you saw, we did a buyback in July. On the same side, we did a small acquisition. So both options are available to us.
So you'll be disciplined on capital, and I hear that I very much understand you don't want to tell us what you're going to do in the future, Giulio, but in terms of gaps in the business, businesses as diverse as RSA, Zurich, Hartford have all been mentioned as potential targets. Can you guide us at all as to where the gaps are in Allianz that might need to be filled?
You know, on the M&A side, we are especially looking at property casualty. That's our main area of focus. That's a priority number one. We might be looking also at acquisition asset management. And on the life side, we have less of an appetite. From a geographical point of view, we think we have a gap in the United States, but we think it's also very challenging to close this gap because of the valuation that you have out there. So fundamentally, our response, or my response to your question is, we have a strong franchise. We don't need M&A to provide value to our stakeholders. We can provide a lot of value just by organic growth, but clearly, if we are going to have good opportunity, we are going to look at that too.